So I'm recording this after the video is already done. Hi guys, welcome to the video. I'm probably gonna say welcome again, I don't remember. But here, you're gonna want the archinstall screen to look like this because it basically shows that it's in UEFI mode. If it does not look like this, then you are not in UEFI mode and it's not going to install properly. So at the beginning, whenever the video continues, you're going to see that I start at a screen that looks different from this. You want to make sure your screen does not look like that. Okay, on to the video. So in this video, we're going to be installing Arch Linux. Not using the Arch install. That process is fairly straightforward. This is going to be like manual installation. So I have the VM pulled up right here. Can't really go more full screen than that. So I'm just going to keep it like that. We're going to go ahead and let this load up. So typically the first thing you would do, let's say if you have a net install, the first thing you would do is scan for available Wi-Fi networks. So first what you would do is, let me actually click in here. First thing you would do is you need to know the device name of your Wi-Fi adapter. So you would do IP address show. And I'm currently connected to Ethernet, but I'm going to show you just in case if you're using a network card. So you can see this is Ethernet right here. I believe that's getting passed through, yeah, because I have a Wi-Fi card on my computer, but I just use Ethernet. So after that, you would do IWCTL, and from there you would do, let's say if your device was WLAN 0, you would do WLAN 0 get-networks. And of course I don't have the WLAN 0 device, but that would show you the networks around. And after you get the network name, you would then do exit. You would exit out of IWCTL. And you perform this command right here, IWCTL -- passphrase space and then the password, then station, and then your interface, and then connect, and then the network name, and then you would enter that in and it should connect you to your Wi-Fi network. And that's the wireless setup. If you're connected to Ethernet, then you don't need to do all that. We can just continue to the next steps. So from here, you are going to list your current devices and partitions and that sort. So you do LSBOK, which is going to list the block devices. And you can see here SR0 is the boot medium, so the ISO, and then VDA is the disk, which is 50 gigabytes. So we'll start the partitioning process by doing fdisk and then VDA. And then from there, you're going to print the current partition layout. Okay, I apologize about that. So it's going to be fdisk/dev/VDA. I forgot about the /dev. I'm actually following a guide, the Learn Linux TV guide. So bear with me as I also explain it in like how I understand it the best. So you're going to do fdisk/dev/VDA. Then from there, you're going to print the current partition layout. I believe it's just P. And then you can see that the disk label type is DOS. The sector size, disk identifier, there's the 50 gigabytes. And then from there, you're going to start creating the partitions for the actual Arch Linux installation. So first we are going to create the EFI and boot partitions. So the first partition we're going to create is the EFI partition. So we're going to do G to create an empty GPT partition table. We created that new GPT disk label. Then after that, we're going to do N to create or start the partition. Gonna do the default 1, and then first sector we'll leave it at default as well. Then the last sector we're going to do plus 1 gig, and 1 gig should be enough for the EFI partition. So we create a new partition. We can actually check that using P and the cutting off. Okay, I guess I'll leave it full screen like this. So yeah, you can see /dev/VDA1, and that is the EFI partition. Then we're going to run through this again. We're going to do N, and the default is now 2 since 1 already has there's already the first partition. So we're going to do 2, and then first sector plus 1 gig. Or actually, no, we're going to leave that default. The last sector should be what we should be changing, which this is the boot partition. We're going to leave that at plus 1 gig as well. So just 1 gig for the boot, 1 gig for the EFI. Now, we can do P again. We can check the partitions. So we have VDA1, VDA2. Now we're going to go again for the third partition. This is going to be the actual Linux file system. Everything that has /root, /mount, all that. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to do N to create a new partition. Default is going to be 3. We're going to press enter. We're going to leave it at default. The last sector, we're going to leave it at default, which should be the rest of the size of the disk. Okay. And there we have it, the 3 partitions on our device, or on our storage device. Now, as you can see, I pulled up the help menu just to show you. So you can see that we did G, which as you can see here, I believe, yeah, lowercase g creates a new empty GPT partition table. And we did N, which creates or adds a new partition. Now we're going to do T, which is to change a partition type. So we're going to change the third partition type. We're going to type L to list all. So these are all the partition types that they can be changed to. We're going to actually change it to so in this step, it is completely up to you whether you would like to do this and make it a LVM. So what LVM is a logical volume group. So how it differs, which I'm currently learning, like I said, as I do these videos, I'm actually learning just so I can explain it better. I've used LVM. I'm currently using LVM on my main system, which I never really got the difference between it and partitioning because they basically seem like the same thing. But with LVM, you can actually combine multiple drives into a volume group. So as this article reads, which I don't have it pulled up, but I'll just read it, a traditional storage capacity is based on individual disk capacity, so just individual disks. With LVM, you can actually combine 3 1 terabyte disks and consider it to be a complete 3 terabyte storage capacity. And that's what you can do with LVM. So basically, LVM is just another, it's similar to another hard drive, kinda, but not really. That's really dumbed down way of approaching it. But as far as LVM for encryption, it allows you to have the, let's say, the home partition, the root partition, var partition, the TMP partition, temp partition, and it allows you to have it all in one group, so it's not completely split up and you know where it's at. So it's just mainly a thing of organization. So in the case we have here, we're actually going to do the Linux LVM, the encryption and all that. But I will also show you how to do it without encryption. I'll just show you the command. So here, we're going to change it to 44, which is the Linux LVM. So yeah, in order to exit that list, you can just type in Q, and then it'll bring you back to partition type or alias. And from here, type 44. And then we're going to do W to write it all. So the partition table has been altered. So now if we do fdisk again, and we do P, we can see that VDA1, which is our EFI, and VDA2, which is our boot, and VDA3, which is our LVM, have been written to the disk. And from there, we can just exit out of that and continue on. So the next part is actually, the cursor is fucking me up, just because we're in a terminal, and it keeps disappearing. But what you would do is now format the drives. So you do mkfs.fat, we're changing it to a fat type, -f32, so fat32, /dev/vda1. So now it's a fat32 type. Now we're going to do the same for, not the exact same, but we're going to change it to an ext4 type for the boot. So /dev/vda2. And then if you did not make it an LVM type, then here you would do the same exact thing, mkfs.ext4/dev/vda3, and then you would continue from there. So the boot and the root are going to be ext4, and the EFI is going to be fat32. Okay, so now we are going to actually set up the encryption, the LVM. So you're going to type in here crypt setup, and then LUKS format, and LUKS is just the actual encryption algorithm, the format. LUKS format, or formatting it to be a LUKS encryption, /dev/vda, and remember it was partition 3. This will overwrite data. Type in yes. Type yes in capital letters. Oh, okay, my bad, I wasn't reading. Enter passphrase. So here we're gonna enter a passphrase for the encryption. For this, we're just gonna put test. Hopefully, I think there's no real requirements for the actual passphrase. I think it really doesn't matter. So it's setting it up now, and it is done. It took about that amount of time. It didn't take 24 seconds. That didn't seem like 24 seconds, but yeah. So now the LUKS volume is set up. I was gonna type clear, but I'll just, so you guys can follow along. Now we're going to open up that logical, or that LUKS formatted volume or LUKS formatted partition. So crypt setup open -- type. I actually think that's incorrect. You can do LUKS open, I believe, /dev/vda3, and then we're just going to have it as LVM, which is going to be the name that it is in the dev/mapper. Now we're entering the passphrase, so test, and then we have opened it. So now that we have the LUKS volume open, or the LUKS partition open, we're now going to create a physical volume within that. So yeah, let me make sure I'm getting the terms correct. I'm trying to explain it just so you guys can understand it. Just that you're not lost. So it's just like, it's not just all commands, you know, that you don't know, or you're just typing in. You actually know what you're doing. So yeah, physical volumes. So we're going to create a physical volume PV, one of my keys fell out. Okay, PV create, so we're going to create a physical volume on /dev/mapper/LVM. So yeah, LVM says here logical volume manager gives us additional storage flexibility, resizing, snapshots, things like that. So we're going to create a physical volume /dev/mapper/LVM, and it was successfully created. Next, we're going to create a volume group within that, and we're basically just organizing it more, giving it more structure, more flexibility. So we're going to do VG create, and we're just going to name this vol group 0 /dev/mapper/LVM. Wait, I misspelled that. /LVM. So create a vol group 0. Now we're going to create logical volumes, which are similar to partitions. They're basically partitions within the LVM. So we're going to do LV create -L, and then we're going to do, let me actually double check my storage size because I think I did this 50 gigs. So we are going to give the root just 20 gigs. Typically you're going to want to give it more than that. In my experience, I actually followed this tutorial when setting up my own system, and it gives you 30 gigabytes. It doesn't really tell you exactly for your storage what to put, but as you can see, I'm running virtual machines, I'm running this, that, and the third. So 30 gigabytes for your root partition is really not enough. I think right now I have 100 gigabytes in my root partition, around that, and that seems to be doing the job. But for this example, I'm going to be doing 20 gigabytes. So LV create -L 20 gigabytes vol group 0-n LV_root. So yeah, remember to actually show you how to resize this later on, because yeah, 20 gigabytes, 30 gigabytes is not enough, especially if this is your main computer. This is a little side thing, then that's fine, but yeah, it's definitely not enough. So next, we're going to use the remaining free space to create our home partition. And whenever you typically do Debian installations or other distro installations, they ask you if you want to separate your home, your var, your TMP, and all that. And I find that very useful. They say it's for advanced users, and it's really not. It's just allows you to recover your data better, in my experience, because especially with Arch Linux, which I'm going to show you later how to recover your system, because Arch Linux, it's always going to fail on you. Something's going to go wrong. And that's why it's cutting edge. That's why the Pacman package manager, the AUR, it allows you to have up-to-date things, but those things can make it crash because of instability. And yeah, so if you want stability, you go with Debian. Debian's cool, but if you want an actual community that has these things like the AUR, and you can pretty much find anything in AUR because people are constantly uploading things like I had a Wi-Fi network chip that required the Broadcom WL driver. I'm pretty sure I would never find that on Debian. Well, I probably could, but I know like there's a lot of issues. Sometimes things go outdated with the kernel, or some things are different on different kernel versions. But the AUR has helped me out a lot, and so that's why I stick to Arch. Even though it gives me a headache, I stick to Arch just because it's just easier. It's just everything. You can find anything you need for the most part. So yeah, now here we are going to create that home partition. So for in this example, we're just going to create a root and a home partition. I'd say that's the best method instead of /var/tmp/home, all that being separate. It's really up to you if you want to look more into that, but this works for me. So we're going to do LV create, and then we're going to do hyphen lowercase l 100% free dash n or hyphen n, and then we're going to name this LV underscore home, and then that's going to go to vol group 0, and we have LV home created. So next we're going to actually activate the volume group. So we're going to do mod probe dm underscore mod. Then we're going to do vg scan, and it found the volume group with metadata type LVM2. We're going to do vg change dash AY, and now the two volume groups in vol group 0 are now active. So we can actually check our progress so far. I'm actually going to do the clear command here now that we're done with as far as partitioning everything and making the whole structure. I'm actually going to type clear here. I'm going to do lsb OK. So as you can see, VDA, we have the first partition, which remember is the EFI partition. We have VDA2, which is the boot partition. VDA3, which has an LVM in it, and it has LV root, LV home. As you can see, LV home is 28 gigabytes. This is a 50 gigabyte virtual disk that I have, and I gave the rest of it. So 28 gigabytes for the LV home, 20 gigabytes for the LV root. So now we're going to actually format those partitions. So we weren't done formatting, but we're done structure-wise as far as creating the structure. So we're going to do mkfs.ext4/dev/vol group 0. You can just tap that, it should pop up. And then LV underscore root. Okay, everything good. Then we're going to do the same exact thing for home. Now we're going to mount it. And this is where we actually start installing the system and getting everything good to go. So mount/dev/vol group 0 LV underscore root. Then we're going to do /mount. So we're going to put it on the mount directory. Actually going to do mount/dev/vol group 0 LV underscore home. Well, no, I guess we're not mounting home yet. Oh, okay, yeah. We're going to mount the actual boot partition. First, we have to make it. I'm getting ahead of myself. So we're going to make directory /mount/boot. And we're going to also make directory /mount/home. So now we can mount the rest of it. So mount/dev/VDA2. And we are going to mount that to the /mount/boot. Next, we're going to mount the home partition. So mount/dev/all group 0 LV underscore, oh shit, home /mount/home. And there we go. So we can actually check. So we can see VDA2 is mounted to the /mount/boot, LV root is on mount, LV home is on mount/home. Okay, so next we're actually going to start installing the system. So we're going to do pack strap -i/mount and then base. So it's going to be installing that. As far as these, you can just go default. Total installed size, total download size is 130, and yeah, you can just do Y here and proceed with it, and I'll be back when it's done. Okay, so now it is done. Also, if you have any issues during this setup, you can feel free to comment below. There's a good chance I probably don't know how to fix it, but I'll figure out a way, just because it'll help me because if I run into the same issue in the future, then I'll know how to do it. So it's good to see what issues do pop up. So now we're going to generate the fstab file, and the fstab just shows what to mount during boot time. So gen fstab hyphen uppercase U hyphen T slash mount. We're going to do arrows slash mount slash etc slash fstab. Let me make sure I'm typing all that correctly. I'm not the most accurate typer. And there we go. We generate that. Now we can actually arch crew, or just crew into the system, because it's pretty much ready now for the next steps. So now we're going to set up the root account. So we're going to set up the password. Just going to do basic ass password. Okay. Now we're going to add a user. So user add -m -g. And I forgot exactly what these mean, but I know that this is creating your home directory. So it's not just adding the users, creating the home directory, probably editing the PAM files and all that, just making sure you're in there. So user add -m -g users -G, I guess adding you to wheel. And we're going to do Mali. Then we're going to set a password for Mali. You can put, where it says Mali, you can put any user you want. Whatever your name is, whatever you want your username to be. We're going to edit the password. Go to the same for every single one. Now we're going to install the basic packages for the Arch Linux system. So let me clear here. So Pacman, this is the package manager for Arch Linux for this distribution. Typically you would have apt or dnf or yum for, let's say, yum for CentOS installations. I think older or either newer ones use DNF. I know Fedora uses DNF. apt is mainly Debian and Ubuntu, but for Arch it is Pacman. And I know for BSD you use package_add, which I don't know too much about BSD. I've been trying to learn it recently. I may do a video on that later, but as of right now, I don't know too much about it. So we're going to do Pacman -S. This is going to be your go-to command for installing anything on Arch. So if you want to install XFCE, you just do that, XFCE4 and then XFCE4 goodies to have like all the other applications and utilities. Yeah, it's going to be pretty much your go-to command. But we're installing the basic packages now. So Pacman -S, we're going to do base dash or hyphen devil, and then DOS FS tools. Then we're going to install GRUB, UEFI boot manager, and then it's really up to you here what you want to install. You can install GNOME, KDE, or any other environment. I typically prefer XFCE, so we're going to do XFCE4 and then XFCE4-goodies. And then I believe you can just use LightDM for this, because I know GNOME comes with its own display manager. So we're going to do LightDM. And then we're going to as well install LVM2, so we're able to access our encrypted volume or partition, volume within the partition. Then we're going to do mtools. Then we're going to do nano. And if you want here, you can add vim. Then we're going to do network manager. And then network network dash manager dash applet. I'm not sure if network, or wait, I did that wrong. I'm not sure if network manager comes with the applet. I've had to install it separately several times, so I don't think so. But I'll just add that. Then we're going to install SSH, then OS, prober, and then finally sudo. And then we're going to go ahead with that. We're going to do, so as you learn more and more about Arch, you're going to want to pay attention to what you're installing. I know it's easy to just skip over it, especially with Debian, since Debian is so damn stable for the most part, for the majority of the time. You can just skip over stuff, and most of the time shit won't break. You can't do that with Arch. You really got to see what you're installing. So we have here, these are the repository extras: thunar, which is the file manager; XFCE app finder; XFCE panel, power manager, session, settings. Yeah, this all looks like basic stuff, just to supporting extras for XFCE. So just default equals all, so you can just press enter. And then these are the other repository extras for XFCE for goodies, which I said was the utilities and programs that are like extras. They're not really required, but they allow better quality of life in XFCE instead of having to install each thing separately. And you can remove what you want later. So let's see, thunar, the archive plugin, notes plugin, smart book, weather plugin. Yeah, it's just general good things to have, like just ease of access to those things. So default's going to be all, or enter. Okay, so network manager applet is not there. So let me see. Okay, I actually think that I did that wrong. So I believe it was just nm -applet. And then we can actually, yeah, we can actually add here nm connection dash editor, and that's good for, let me make sure this is editor. Okay, so yeah, sorry about that. Add that as well if you want to. It's not really required, but it allows you to edit like VPN connections and shit like that. So we're gonna go with that. Default all. Target not found, nm applet. Okay, so never mind then. I guess we'll just stick with network manager for now. I guess you can't install it right now. You can install it later. Default all. Okay, total download size, total installed size 1386, and we're gonna let that go, and I'll be back. Okay, so now it's done. Everything's been installed. You can see light DM, polkit-d, all that. So now we're going to move on and install the actual kernel. So we're going to do pacman, or let me clear all this just so it's easier to read. We're going to do pacman capital S Linux headers, and then these are optional, but it's good to have 2 kernels just in case one of them fucks up. So Linux -LTS, and then you're gonna get the same thing. So Linux -LTS headers, and you're gonna install that. You're just gonna do the default, and we're gonna let that run. So yeah, this is an important part. You can see it's rebuilding the init RAM. So these are just hooks that upon boot, it hooks these things. Like, I believe LVM should be added here, or we might have to edit it later. Yeah, I think we have to add LVM. LVM is important for it to hook, just so that upon boot, it asks to actually open the physical volume, logical volume, and all that we created, or else you won't be able to boot into it. So now we have the kernel. We're gonna install the firmware files. So pacman, or let me clear, pacman hyphen capital S Linux hyphen firmware. Oh, spelled that wrong. Firmware. Okay, and we're gonna let that run. Okay, so that's done. As you can see, it built the init RAMs again. So we're gonna do clear. We have firmware installed. Now, at this point, we're gonna install the necessary files for your GPU. So I'm in a VM. Let me see what it has as far as the GPU, VGA compatible controller. I think so. Here, I don't think I have to install anything, but for your sake, whatever you're running, if you have a Intel or AMD GPU, you're going to install Mesa. So you're going to do pacman, or let me clear this. So yeah, reference LSPCI to see if you have two GPUs, then you're going to install both, just if you want to switch, flip-flop between them. But if you just have one, then just install the one. So I'm going to do clear here. So if you have a AMD or Intel GPU, you're going to do pacman hyphen capital S, and you're going to install Mesa. So it shouldn't ask you for any defaults. So I'm not going to install it here. Net upgrade size 0, so I already have it apparently. I'm going to put no here. If you have, I'm actually going to go through with the commands because I know most people don't actually go through with the commands. They just show you. And I know sometimes it has defaults and you're like, oh, what default do I do, or what do I install? So pacman hyphen S, so that was for AMD Intel. This is for NVIDIA. So pacman hyphen S NVIDIA space NVIDIA utils. So there we go, Wayland, NVIDIA utils, NVIDIA, and that would be that download if you have a NVIDIA GPU. Also, if you installed the LTS kernel earlier when I was doing Linux headers, Linux LTS headers, then you would, if you have a NVIDIA GPU, you would also do pacman hyphen S NVIDIA hyphen LTS, and you would install that as well. And I don't believe there's any defaults. It's not asking for any defaults. So yeah, you would install that as well. And if you need support for accelerated video decoding, so just in general, these are better to have than not to have. So for Intel, if you have an Intel GPU, you would do pacman hyphen S Intel media driver, and there's no defaults. Okay, so yeah, you install that if you have NVIDIA. I mean, if you have Intel, Broadwell and newer. So I'm gonna say no, and then my key popped out. If you have an NVIDIA or an Intel Broadwell and newer, you would install that. If you have an Intel GMA 4500 and up to Coffee Lake, then you would do Intel hyphen, or no, you would do libva actually, libva hyphen Mesa hyphen driver. And I'm going to say no to that. That's for Intel. For AMD, you would do the same exact thing, libva Mesa driver. And now for NVIDIA, you would do, so yeah, it's already taken care of with NVIDIA utils apparently. So yeah, I believe when I was first installing my system, I was doing AMD, so I'm not sure entirely on the NVIDIA route. But yeah, so NVIDIA util should take care of that. Now we're going to edit what we were talking about earlier, the hooks and the modules and all that. So we're going to clear here, and then we're going to do nano, or I believe we'll just use Vim. Actually, we'll just use nano, never mind. /etc/mkinit cpio.conf. let me see. May have spelled that wrong. Let me see. MK init. Yeah, I did. I did CLIO. CPIO. There we go. So now we're going to go down to block and file systems. So you should be, if you want to do GPU pass-through in the future, you should be familiar with this file, because you're gonna have to add some stuff in the modules and stuff. I actually did that in my first video. So you're gonna go down to hooks right here, and between block and file systems, you're going to add encrypt, and then you're going to add LVM2, and then that should be fine. Control X, save buffer, Y, and then enter, and then you're going to clear. And then there's two separate commands you need to do. If you install just the Linux kernel, then you would do mk init cpi. I don't know why I keep doing L. cpio -p Linux, and that's going to rebuild that. You should make sure that when you're reading this, there's no errors with LVM or encrypt, or your system's not going to boot with that. Let's see. So yeah, you can see running build hook LVM, running build hook encrypt, so everything looks fine. Now if you install the LTS package, you're gonna do here -LTS, and you're gonna do that. And also check for that. It shouldn't take too long. Make sure that it's hooking with, it's building the hook and hooking for encrypt and LVM2. As you can see right there, it is. All these probably missing firmwares, you don't really have to care about that. As long as the system boots, it's pretty much fine. It always shows this. So yeah, the image generation was successful. Clear. And then from here, we're going to actually edit the locale. So we're going to do nano space etc /locale.gen. Now you're going to go down here. In my case, I'm in the US, so we're going to go en, and down here enus utf8. I'm going to uncomment that. I'm going to go Control X, Y, and enter. So now it's saved. I uncommented it. And then let me see here. Okay, so now we're going to actually set up the GRUB. So you're going to edit the GRUB file with nano /etc /default/GRUB. We're going to go here. We're going to go to GRUB cmd line Linux default log level equals 3 quiet. You're going to want to take out that quiet, just because quiet won't show you if there's any errors. It's going to be quiet, of course, as it says. So here you're going to add crypt device, and you can skip this part. You could have skipped the last couple steps, like the mk init cpio, and this as well if you're not doing LVM. But if you are doing LVM, then you have to do this. So crypt device equals /dev /VDA3, and it's VDA3 for me. It might be SDA, SDB, whatever it is for you. So /dev /VDA3, and then we're gonna do :, vol group 0. Make sure this is all right. If it's not all right, then it's not going to boot correctly, or it's not going to open the correct device. So crypt device equals /dev /VDA3 vol group 0, and I believe that's it. You can do Control X and exit, And now we need to create the boot EFI directory and mount it. So we're going to do clear, just to clear this all out. And then we're going to do make directory / boot / EFI. Next, we're going to mount /dev / VDA1, which is the EFI. We're gonna mount that to /boot / EFI. Next, we're going to install the GRUB. So we're going to do GRUB -install -target equals x86_64 -EFI, and then space bootloader -ID equals GRUB _UEFI, and then recheck. So yeah, this is just going to install the GRUB to the EFI so we can boot into it, have our manager and all that. So we're going to run that and we'll let that run. So I actually ran into this issue when I initially installed Arch. You have to make sure that you are booting from the USB or whatever installation medium in UEFI. So okay, so now I booted back in UEFI mode. It's a little bit trickier using the VM for UEFI after you've already set it up with the normal BIOS, but we're going to run this command again and it should work this time. So we'll let that run. And as you can see, this time it says installation finished, no error reported. So now we can do clear. And next we're going to copy the locale files for GRUB's messaging to our boot directory. So we're going to do cp /user /share locale /en, and we're going to do /lc_messages /grub.mo, and we're going to copy that to /boot /grub /locale en.mo. So now we've copied the locale files. Now we're going to generate a config file for GRUB. So we're going to do grub -mkconfig -o /boot /grub /grub.cfg. Okay. So yeah, that's all good to go. Now, depending on what you installed, if you installed GNOME, what you would do here is systemctl enable GDM. I do not have GDM. I did not install GNOME. So you're going to go ctl enable. I installed lightdm, so if you followed my instructions, then you're going to go here and you're going to enable lightdm. So yeah, depending on whatever display manager you installed, you're going to enable it there so it can boot into that and you're able to log in and shit like that. Next, you're going to do systemctl enable network manager. So it created the symlink, and it enabled it, and now that about wraps it up as far as installing everything. So you can go ahead and exit the root. You can unmount everything. So umount -a, and it says dev targets busy. So let's see. But yeah, I think it's referring to the base system. So yeah, those are busy because we're in it. Now you can type in reboot and we can go into the system. So as you can see, this starts up. This is the GRUB menu. So we go ahead into Arch Linux, press enter. It's loading everything. You see the first thing that pops up is the password for the LVM. So we'll type that in, whatever it is. and it should attach it. It should do file system checks, make sure everything's running. It said it failed to start Light Display Manager, and we're going to check that out right now. Okay, so I'm in it now. I'll put a little note in a little ahead of the video where I was installing everything. You need to install like GTK Greeter, but I'll put a little note so that you guys aren't blindsided about like I was. So Mally, put in the password and we'll log in, and now we have our Arch Linux system. Before you use the sudo, use export editor equals nano, and if you didn't do that, it just makes it easier. So if we set it to vi, the sudo, just if you don't know how to operate vi yet, then you can just press escape, do :q exclamation point, then export editor equals nano, and then the sudo. And then you can go down here. This is nano's a little bit easier. I'm familiar with Vim and NeoVim, but VI is I don't know what the fuck's up with VI. I don't know how to operate VI. So you can put here your user, then you do all equals all. You can exit, save that. And then if we exit out and we go back to our actual user, we should be able to do ls. Okay. Sudo ls test, and then we can list. So do clear. Now we can go ahead and do those updates. So sudo pacman-s and then -syu, and that's how you would update everything. Make sure everything's up to date. Everything's up to date. Synchronize the package database. Everything's synchronized. Probably should have done that before the update, but yeah. Now we can actually try nm applet. Okay. It may be different. Maybe it's network manager applet. It's not. Okay. It's not. Okay. Okay, so I was typing it in wrong. It is actually network -manager -applet. And then there we go. And then let me actually sudo systemctl restart network manager, and then it doesn't pop up here. Let me see if I can make it pop up. I think upon reboot it should pop up. Fairly certain about that, but yeah, it should be pretty much everything. As far as a good thing to have is the AUR. So we're going to go ahead and actually add that. So to actually add the AUR or easier accessibility to the AUR, we're going to have to install Yay. So first, you should make sure that you have these packages. So sudo pacman will actually clear this just because we're on some other shit. So sudo pacman-s git, and every time you install something, you should always update or check for updates, but don't always update. Only if things aren't working out, then maybe you should update, but I wouldn't. Most guides tell you to always do the updates whenever you install some shit, but don't do that shit. That shit is stupid, because you're gonna fuck up your system in case something goes wrong, in case there's something else pushed that fucks up everything. So don't always update. That's good for Debian and other distros, but for Arch that could fuck up for no reason. So just do sudo pacman-s git, and then base del, which I'm pretty sure we have, we installed earlier. So we're going to do no, just double checking that we have it installed. So we're going to install git, then we're going to clear, then we're going to git clone https://AUR dot archinlinux.org/yay.git. So we're going to clone yay, and we can ls and we can see yay, so we're going to cd into yay, and then we're going to do make package -si, and we're going to let that run. Do y, and then it's downloading everything, and I'll be back when it's done. So finally it's going to ask you to proceed with installation. You're going to select Y, and then it should be done. And if you have properly installed it, you should be able to do yay --version, and it'll pop up. And that's how you install yay. Yay allows you to access the, okay, so there's no web browser apparently. Okay, I guess on the base install it doesn't give you other, is it really, it doesn't give you Falcon or anything? I honestly don't know myself, just because I just go ahead and install Firefox or LibreWolf, but I guess not. So up to you. So you can do sudo pacman -s Firefox -extended release, or I think it's just Firefox. Yeah. You can just do jack2. You can do default. You can just do default for all that, and we'll let that run. So now Firefox is downloaded, so we can go here and click that, and it'll automatically use Firefox since it's the only browser installed. So let me actually show you the AUR, the Arch user repository. This has a list of different packages you can install, and you can use yay to install that. So for example, let me see, do they have nvim on here? Oh wait, that's not it. We do nvim. Let me see, GUI for NeoVim without any web bloat. So I actually don't know, I actually haven't used this. So let's see what this is talking about. You know what, let's just go ahead and install it. Fuck it. You should double check whenever you install these things, just because it is a user repository, so people can install or upload whatever they want. So you should double check these files, make sure that nothing is malicious. But this is VM, so I really don't care. We're going to do yay -s gnvim, and we're just going to do default. You should just select enter throughout all these things if this is your first time installing it. If it's not, you should probably, when it says packages to clean build, you should probably say all if you're doing like a clean reinstall or something like that. So yeah, let that go. So yeah, it's installing NeoVim. NeoVim comes with it, and we're gonna see what this is about, because I actually don't know what this is. It's a GUI for NeoVim apparently. So yeah, we're just gonna let that build. As another side note, you cannot use yay, the Arch user repository package fetcher, under root. So you're gonna have to be a user. So like my user is Mally, so you would just do yay, like I showed you, yay -s, similar to pacman. Instead of having to use sudo, it's under the user. And the main reason for that is that the AUR is, like I said, a user repository. So if they allow you to do root, then if it is a malicious package, then, and it's installed under root, then you're pretty much fucked. So better to have it infect the user without any elevated privileges than the root, where it could just take over the whole system or take it over without you even knowing. Another thing you should check out is Nix. It is a package manager. that a lot of people seem to like. I haven't actually looked too much into it, but so if we go here, let's see, let's try NeoVim, and it has a good amount of packages. It has a GTK UI for NeoVim, so similar to what we're installing right now. Yeah, it has a lot of stuff. So I'm not sure if it has more than the Pac-Man, or if it's experimental packages, shit like that. But it's something worth checking out. So yeah, it failed. Fuck it. It probably has to do with kernel, some shit. Basically kernel compatibility. Let's see, when was this first submitted? Oh, it actually was updated pretty recently. Let's see, please add to package build, does not link well till enabled. So yeah, this is just someone, you know, fucking around, probably very catered to their own system, and that's why it's not working on our system, you know, work in progress, you know. So, but yeah, that's basically how you use it. Yay-S, and then whatever package, you can search the AU bar for whatever package you want, and it's easier than doing, let's see, we can actually go up. So how we installed Yay was with git clone, and we cloned it straight from the AUR, but without the Yay, without the actual package fetcher, you would have to do git clone every time, make package SI every time. So Yay just makes that completely easier. So I think that about covers it, covers everything as far as archinstall. Everything else is pretty much up to you. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to see something else specific, comment below and I'll cover the topic, or I'll do the install, whatever the fuck. But yeah, alright, see y'all. So this is a good little troubleshooting section. So if your system does not boot and you have to go back into it, let's say you missed a step or something like that, then you would go back into the ISO. So I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna do LSBLK. So as you can see, VDA, everything's there. So to open up your LVM, you can skip this part if you don't have an LVM. But if you do, then you go to crypt setup, LUKS open /dev/VDA3, and we're gonna call it LVM. And then passphrase, or whatever your passphrase is. Now if we do LSBLK, you can see the volume groups are now there, the logical volumes. So now you can do mount /dev/vol group 0 LV_root. You can attach that to mount. Then you can do LV home. You can attach that to mount/home. And then you do mount /dev/VDA2. You do that to /mount/boot. Now you can archinstall into the system. /mount. Now you can mount /dev/VDA1 into /boot/EFI, and then everything's attached again. So you're pretty much good to go as far as troubleshooting what you need to troubleshoot.